Yo, it's me. It's DDP.
Self-high five.
Never Submit Entertainment proudly presents.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
The Never Submit Podcast.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
With your host, Matthew Chikella.
And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world destroy you?
Join Matthew and his special guests as they discuss the latest news and rumors in all forms of entertainment.
Are you ready? The champ is here!
It's just a man.
Give me a hell yeah!
What the rock is cooking.
Each week, they break down everything from movies and TV shows.
Check out the big brain on Brad. You're a smart motherfucker, that's right.
To professional wrestling and mixed martial arts.
If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya! Ooh yeah!
It's wild
Say hello to my little friend.
and crazy.
They look like psychos? Is that what they look like? They were vampires. Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are.
And completely uncensored.
Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
It's the Never Submit Podcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And it's happening right now.
Game over.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Never Submit Podcast. I am Matthew Chikella, as always joined by Joshua Hall and Mike Moulton. And today is a very special Never Submit Podcast. No movie news, no buy or sell, no none of that. Today is an exclusive interview with Diamond Dallas Page. He'll be joining us here just shortly. Super excited for this. Josh, what do you think? We finally got Diamond Dallas Page on the podcast.
I'm stoked. I am definitely stoked for it, man. I mean, we got a lot of questions regarding, DDP's world, DDP's universe, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm very grateful that we get to talk to him.
What are you thinking over there, Mike? DDP on the line with us here just a little bit.
Man, like Josh just said, I'm stoked about this. I mean, DDP, that, like, at first, I was thinking, I'm not going to be nervous, but as the day, kept going on today, I was thinking, oh, man, it's going to be crazy. And, I'm getting a little bit nervous. I'm just wondering, if he's as nervous to talk to me as I am to talk to him, because I am the champ. So.
Oh, my God. Leave it to Mike, ladies and gentlemen. No, but I agree with you, though, because I wasn't nervous at all until about an hour ago, and then I was kind of like, oh, man, dude, like an hour from now, I'm going to be talking to DDP. Like, if you would tell, 10-year-old me that I'll be talking to a former world heavyweight champion, like, holy shit, man. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Well, especially it's our first guest too. We've never really had a guest. We've had, I think, maybe guest hosts. I think one time before, but like this is like a first official guest, like your Tonight Show type of thing.
Yeah,
it's
no,
pretty
absolutely.
exciting. So yeah, there'd be a lot of stuff that's going to be mind.
Yeah, I've never done an interview. I mean, really, I've interviewed when I very first started the podcast. I interviewed 2 of the actors from Poetic, Mark Edwards and Dave Block. I interviewed them, just to have some fun with them on the podcast. But really, as far as a professional interview, this is the first time I've ever done it. So we'll see how good or how bad this goes. But either way, I'm pretty excited. We're going to talk about the resurrection of Jake the Snake, the film, the documentary that's on Netflix right now. We both have reviewed that film on the podcast before, so I'm looking forward to actually talking to the guy who made that film possible. Obviously, our wrestling fans know that DDP is a popular wrestler, former wrestler. We talked about him as a wrestler of the week several months ago, I believe. And then DDP will be on promoting DDP Yoga, which is his company. So, got a lot of Got a lot to talk about with DDP, so I'm really excited. We only got him for about an hour, so I mean, hopefully we can fit everything in and we don't, have to get cut off midway through, but we'll kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to mention really quickly, and we'll have the producer of this film later in the month on with us. But DDP also has a little movie called The Bet that will be coming on demand, effectively the last week of July as well. So I'm sure we'll probably get a little word on that. But just wanted to show that out there that DDP does have a brand new movie coming out.
Yeah, Chris J., the producer of The Bet, will be on the Never Submit podcast on July 29th, which we'll record it. So it'll be July 30th is when it'll be uploaded to iTunes and all the places you can find SoundCloud and all that. So that's about 3 weeks from today. We'll have Chris J. on, and he has the film. DDP was in that film, as well as Jake the Snake and Roddy Piper was in that film as well. So looking forward to talking to Chris J. about The Bet. And then, from there, they'll be our first two guests in 1 month's time, and we'll see who else we can get on the podcast going forward. I mean, we're still going to obviously do our regular shows with Buy or Sell and, Wrestler of the Week and what are you watching. We're not going to change our whole format, but this is something we're experimenting with. We're just trying to see, bringing celebrities on or wrestlers on. It only helps us reach a new audience, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to interview a wrestler that we used to watch every Monday night on TV. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, no, it's totally exciting. Yeah.
What was that, Mike?
I said, me too. Man, it'll be nice. Oh, I'm just thinking like all the possibilities. How great it would be if this really takes off.
Yeah, no, I
think it's a very promising thing.
I hope so, man. It all depends how it goes, and we've I'm not gonna name drop anybody, but there's some other guys that we've been talking to about getting them on the show here, so we'll see how that goes, and it could be fun to do an interview. Once a month you do an interview or something, and once you get the format down, we could do more as well as our normal shows, our normal Buy or Sell and stuff. So, but with that said, guys, let's go ahead and let's get DDP on the line here, and we'll go from there.
Yo, it's me. It's DDP.
All right, guys, I am with a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is a former 3-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, the master of the Diamond Cutter. He is the original People's Champion and the creator of DDP Yoga. Please welcome Diamond Dallas Page to the show.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Oh, man,
doing good.
It is a pleasure to have you guys on the show.
Doing well, man. Thanks for being on the show.
All right.
Glad to be here.
And Mr. Page, we're going to jump right in because I know your time is valuable and we don't want to waste any of your time. But I've got to tell you, I have watched The Resurrection of Jake the Snake 3 times now. I purchased it when it came available on iTunes, and then I came on Netflix recently, and I started watching it there. So I don't know if you're familiar with our show, the Never Submit podcast, but we're not just like a wrestling podcast. We also cover mixed martial arts, movies, TV shows, basically anything pop culture. So we have reviewed the movie, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, on this show already. So obviously rave reviews. It's an emotional journey. It's a great story. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, is what was the idea, the concept for this documentary? Was it always about Jake the Snake, or was this originally about maybe just DDP Yoga in itself, but then it just evolved into so much more?
Well, it was never really anything to do with DDP Yoga except for what that was going to help heal Jake, because I knew Jake was beat up, but I had no idea how badly beat up he was. I mean, badly. And when I got down there to actually see him, I mean, it actually took me back a little bit because I didn't think he was that bad. And when he couldn't, first of all, what he looked like, he looked 100 years old, right, and he moved like he was 120. And just seeing him not be able to get to the ground, again, I thought I was going to have to deal with a guy who was beat up and try to I don't even know how to say this, rebrand him as a guy that could walk away from our business with his head held high. Like, there's a number of top wrestlers in the world that if you ask them who are their top 5 wrestlers of all time, Jake Roberts is going to be on 80% of their list.
Absolutely.
Minimum.
Absolutely.
So that Jake didn't have any of the recognition, that he was, sort of banned from anything to do. Scott, too, Scott Hall, too, banned from anything to do with WWE for good reasons. The WWE is a public company. They can't be saying, look how great this drug addict is, that, was one of our legends, so they just send him to the boogie land. And for me, I always say that without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. He gave me every break that ever meant anything early on, and he mentored me my entire career and after. And without Jake Roberts, there's no 3-time world champion.
Right.
And it used to really boggle Dusty at times, like how I was doing what I was doing, because Dusty was helping me on the business end of it, the psychology of the business. Because Dusty wasn't about making wrestling videos. Dusty was making movies. Like, Dusty was telling stories. These are 2 of the greatest storytellers ever. Dusty Rhodes, Jake the Snake Roberts. Neither one of them looked anything like Hulk Hogan or Randy Macho Man Savage, for that matter. And yet they were 2 of the absolute truest icons of our business, and they were both my mentors. So I always wanted to help Jake. I always wanted to, and I tried a couple of times, but you can't help anybody who's not ready to be heard, who's not ready to submit, literally submit, and start to let someone else drive, as Dustin Rhodes put it in my in the documentary, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. Dustin was at a DDP Yoga retreat when we filmed him, and he came to a retreat on his own, and he wanted to know more about our program. 2 years later, he's back in the WWE ring at 40 years old. Oh, wow. There's no way that happens. Actually 42 at the time. There's no way that ever happens without him doing the program. But also, and I didn't help Dustin get straight. Someone else did that. I just helped him heal his body. So my goal was to help Jake heal his body, change his mindset, get him to start changing the story I know he'd been telling himself for years. Mm-hmm. And to recreate Jake. Now, if you'd have told me it's everything that it's become, that Jake was going to get into the Hall of Fame, which was a fantasy dream. It was the same fantasy dream I had when I was in the business I guess I was in the business a total since 88. This was 94, 6 years, and 3 of those years were wrestling. 2.5 probably years, maybe 3 years were wrestling. And Dusty Rhodes is mentoring me, and basically I'm venting about the booking committee not helping me, not helping me, not believing in me, not giving me any opportunity. And I said to him, I know I'm never going to be you or Flair or Hogan. I know I'm never going to be the world champion. And I know Dusty, but he goes, Dallas, shut up. And he never said that to me ever in my life. And he said, what did you just say? And I said, well, Dream, I know I'm never going to be you or Hogan or Flair. He goes, no, what did you say after that? And I said, well, I'm never going to be the world champion. And he said, then what the hell are you doing it for, Dallas? If you don't believe you have the ability to be the world champion, you need to get the hell out of our business right now. And man, I'm sitting at my kitchen table where my phone is. It's actually the counter, and there's a yellow a ledger pad there. And I grabbed that pad while I'm talking to him. and listening to him cut a promo on me, I write down, I will be the world champion in 5 years or less.
Oh, wow.
It was 4 years, 4 months, and 14 days.
That's amazing.
When April 11th came around, and Randy Macho Man Savage, of all people, who's guest reffing that match with me, Hogan, and Flair, Hogan, Flair, and Sting, three of the truest icons ever in our business, and I walk out the world champion. It happened. So when I started working with Jake, in my mind, I burned it into my brain, wrote it down, put it in my every note you can imagine. Jake Roberts will be in the Hall of Fame. 18 months later, it happened. I always tell people, just don't think it, ink it. And you got to burn it in your brain. You got to believe it. You got to have faith when it looks like it's never going to happen. I'm sitting in my office right now at my house, and now it's a home again. Right. Back then, it was my whole house was my office.
Right.
And I sat here with Steve Yu at least 7 times. And we look at each other, and I go, Steve, do you think anybody's ever going to see this movie? And we just shake our head like, who knows, man? Yeah, I mean, can he kick out again? Can he start doing the right thing again? Because I never would have released this movie without Jake being sober at the time. I never would have released this movie if Jake Roberts wasn't behind the movie.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because if there was discussions, like if, God forbid, he didn't get the successful ending that he did with that story, because I'm sure you know better than even I do, obviously, about Beyond the Mat, the documentary that Jake did that, unfortunately did not display him in the way that he thought he was going to be. So was it hard for you to get him to agree with the cameras? Like, Jake, just believe in us, believe in yourself that we can do this. This is going to end the way that, like you said, just believe it, have faith. Was it hard to get him to go in for those cameras again?
Well, of course, you have to understand, Jake really trusted me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But he don't know Steve from a hole in the ground.
Right.
You got to remember, when I brought Jake Roberts in here, I charged him nothing. I put up the nicest roof he's had over his head in probably 15 years, king-size beds, the best food that you can eat. And if he needed help with something, I gave it to him. And then at some point, we started to book him again, and his price was low, but it got higher and higher and higher. Today, Jake's making amazing money. He's living the dream at a whole nother level. To talk to Jake Roberts being over 2.5 years sober.
That's amazing.
I can't even explain it. And, we talk all the time, all the time. And, it was getting Jake more than anything, because you weren't allowed to drink here in my house. All my booze, because I can drink, but I didn't drink around Jake or Scott.
Right.
I'm not doing that. And I want them to feel comfortable and safe. And there was no judgment. Now, if Jake got fucked up, if he found a way to slip out and get drunk, there was some judgment there. And I'd be pissed. But the next day, it's part of, because Jake could have left at any time, and he didn't choose to do that. I mean, there was one time, and it's not in the movie, and I really wish it would have been, because it was so powerful. He came downstairs, and he was so mad, and he punched my marble counters. As you can imagine, that's not going to go anywhere. That's only going to hurt.
Right.
And I go, what the hell are you doing? And he said, I'm such a loser. I'm so stupid. I am such a loser. And I said, tell me what you're talking about. And it wasn't that big a deal. Jake's made some bad decisions in his life. This wasn't one of the bad ones, but he was beating himself up. And I said, come here a minute. I want to show you something. And my kitchen living room area is off this one bathroom that we walked into. And I said, look in the mirror. Tell me what you see. And he said, a loser. I said, stop fucking saying that. You can't say that about yourself. I said, look at yourself. Look at that shirt you're wearing. And you'll see the shirt, and you might remember it because you've seen it a couple times, right in the opening scene when he's being accused of being drunk on the road.
Yep.
And this time he's not. He's had a few beers because in the beginning I let him have some beers because he said he could only have 3 beers and he'd be fine. Now, I know that's bullshit, but I'm going to give you the rope. I'm going to give you the rope to hang yourself,
right.
And then there's no more booze. But if you remember that scene and you go back, he's wearing this white T-shirt that's of this skeleton, and he's got like a rebel hat on, and he's got a flag, and it's all in red and white. And he's got this flag that says wasted youth. And I said, look what that T-shirt says. I said, you wear that T-shirt all the time. I said, you also wear the one with Charles Manson on it, like he's your hero. I said, do you want that fucking scumbag to friggin' be in the same room with your kids? Oh, God, no. I go, why would you wear that shirt then? He's a scumbag. I go, why would you wear this shirt? Talking about your wasted youth. You're reminding yourself you fucked yourself every time you wear it. I go, what you should be wearing is shirts like never give up, positive energy, unstoppable. You know, that's the kind of shit you should be wearing. That's what you need to keep reminding yourself. And he walked away, and he'd come back downstairs with a completely different shirt on, and he said, D, I decided what my next T-shirt's going to be. I just called Robert. He's making it right now. My history is not my destiny. I said, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's the mind stuff, the story. Every one of us, every person who's listening right now, everyone knows we all pull ourselves down with what I call emotional gravity. Nobody can do more damage to you than you. Someone says something and you get yourself all stirred up. Maybe they didn't even mean it, anything like you thought, but you start thinking about all the negative shit that goes with it, and next thing you know, you're a mess. As opposed to maybe asking that person, what did you mean by that?
Right, absolutely.
A lot of times it's something completely different. You know, it's a scientific fact. They did a study on this. 72% of the shit we worry about never happens.
I believe that. Absolutely, I believe that.
That's definitely true.
Well, Mr. Page, you also, it's called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, but in the film, about halfway through, you and Jake get a phone call from Scott Hall, and that phone call that's captured is just harrowing to hear. He sounds just more beaten than maybe even Jake was in the Beyond the Mat film. He was with the lowest that you could imagine, and then you took Jake in, and Jake said, Scott, I need you here, Scott, you and me together. Like, how did that come about? Because with the film, it sort of just picks up with that phone call, and then, of course, you have the wonderful success story of Scott Hall. But how did that happen where you got, like, that you found out that he was in that dark place that Scott was in to get him on the call?
Well, we actually talked about it. You probably, because there was so many things happening. Like, you can watch this movie 10 times and still pick up on new stuff. What actually happened there was, I'm sitting in my crib, we're down, we just got done eating, I think, and, I'm on Twitter. I'm at Real DDP, at DDP Yoga. I mean, I'm the guy who does all the answers to all the questions, me. And I get to my DM, those direct emails, probably once every week or so. Well, when I went on it, I see Sean Waltman. He just sent me a friggin' DM. I mean, like moments ago. And I read it, and it says, Dally, so proud of you and your success you've had with Jake. It's been amazing. He goes, I know you're overloaded with everything with Jake, but will you please reach out to Scott? Now, I can't tell you how many people on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter had asked me to help Scott.
Right.
And when I tell you I called Scott 20 times over that last 10 years, and not only did he never call me back, he never answered the phone, nothing. So to get this from Sean, and he's saying, he said he has a gun. Oh, and this time I believe him, he's going to use it. So I look up at Steve, and, you know, when he sees me, because I'm talking about it, he walks up on me reading it. We got cameras everywhere in my house. And Steve, thank God, just happened to be there because all the other camera crew was gone. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, we got to call him. Jake's walking by at the time. That's like real time. And I said, Jake, you want to do this? He said, sure, let's do it. And then that conversation in the movie, its entire length is on the DVD, because the DVD that we have has 20 extra features, because you have to understand that we filmed for over 500 hours.
Oh, wow.
And we used 93 minutes. So you film over 500 hours. You've got a lot of other stuff that was never seen.
Right.
And just to credit to Steve Yu, it's his first film. And if this movie was about 3 rock and roll guys, now let's just say it was about Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, and Vince Neil. And Vince was in my spot and helped the Beatle and the Stone turn their life around. Because that's the equivalent of who we are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In our world. We would have blown Amy so far out of the box, you wouldn't even know she had a documentary. It would have not only won the documentary thing, it would have probably won Best Movie. You know, because of everybody feels, you know, they're a part of rock and roll. If there would have been 3 golfers, there was Arnold Palmer and Lee Trevino, and pick any other golfer, it would have been Best Documentary. But because it was 3 wrestlers, and we don't get the respect that we really deserve from not our fans are unbelievable. But you know, there's those people that you all grew up with that not only don't really like wrestling, they're mad at you because you do.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Like that person, your goal should be to get that person to watch this movie.
I've actually done that for you. I actually have. My wife, real fast, my wife does not like professional wrestling. I'm 34. I've been watching since I was 5 years old, but my wife, God bless her, doesn't like wrestling. But when this film came out, I told her, I said, you don't know Diamond Dallas Page, you don't know Jake Roberts, you don't know Scott Hall. Just watch this film for what it is. Just watch the film. And she watched it, and I swear to God, at the end, when Jake gives his speech, you know, my history, you know, the line at in the Hall of Fame, welling up with tears, man. It just hit her. It just hit her, like you were saying. It just...
Then they'll understand, like, okay, now I see why you actually care about these guys. It's all about the characters in anything, from music to the written character in a book to screenplays to movies. to wrestlers. Who is the character? And when you're an exaggeration of that character, the way Diamond Dallas Page is, the way Dusty Rhodes was, the way Ric Flair is, the way Jake Roberts is, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. The reason why you love those characters so much is because they're so authentic. And they grab your emotions. Because we get involved. Like, how many times has Ric Flair cried on TV? Because Rick is that character. Rick is such a special individual. It's like Ric Flair isn't from this planet because he's been able to do so many things and still keep going, like really detrimental things to his body, to his health, everything. And I used to call Lex Luger a cyborg, and then life finally got up to him, and his spinal cord was almost put him in quadriplegic. Never mind, he can move everything now, but at one point he couldn't. And Ric Flair, for what he's put his body through, is just he's like a superhero. And he's authentic in the way of him talking about his love for the business. Jake Roberts. That's why your wife welled up. She thought, wow, oh my God. When he said, I'm embarrassed to say I screwed you guys out of a lot of my talent. So it's the authenticness. And that's why the resurrection of Jake the Snake right now, and anybody who's seen it, if you haven't rated it on Netflix, please go back and do that. Because right now, that's the only thing Netflix really does when it comes to, like, they don't say who's the most watched documentary this week, who's the most watched action movie. They don't do that. What they do is they keep tabs on who are the highest rated movies in that genre. Right now, today, we've been there for a month and a week on Netflix. Right now, when it comes to documentaries, we are the 6th highest rated documentary on a network that made the documentary famous. They said, look at these cool documentaries, and people watched them and went, wow, this is an unbelievable art form, making documentaries. And Netflix would be at the head of that. Showtime right behind them. And we're number 6 in highest rated movies as a documentary. That is That's awesome. The greatest compliment ever.
That is amazing. But I'll tell you what, it should be number 1. It really should be. And I say that as a wrestling fan, but also, like I said at the beginning, we talk about movies and, Marvel superheroes and DC and all that stuff, But I'm telling you, for our listeners that listen to the show, we have several thousand of you guys. Please, if you've not seen this film, like Mr. Page said, if you're a wrestling fan, show your non-wrestling fans. If you're a non-wrestling fan, give the film a shot, because it's not really a wrestling movie. And Dallas, you said it perfectly. If this was not 3 wrestlers, this film would have been in the Academy Awards, because it hooks you. Like I said, my wife doesn't even like wrestling, and I'm married her for some reason, but she doesn't like it. But it sucked her in. It's this amazing journey. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about Resurrection, and then we'll move on to a different topic, was this is successful, like you said, top 6 right now in Netflix. A successful film. Is there any plans currently to continue Jake's journey on video, or maybe take another former wrestler who needs some assistance with the accountability crib and take a new journey? Or is this kind of a one and done for you guys right now? What are you thinking on that?
Well, it's funny because a lot of people have asked, what about Scott Hall?
Yes.
Well, Scott Hall, part of his story's already been told by us.
Yeah.
But just last weekend, the 3 DVD set on WWE's The Razor's Edge is out. And they did such an awesome job on his documentary. And they've got about 8 minutes of his journey with us, which is really powerful. So I don't really think Scott's needs to be done because it's already been done. And I'll tell you, dealing with addiction, unless it was like a show where, like right now, in my mind, if I had the wherewithal to grab a producer, I would show him the resurrection of Jake the Snake, and I would show him what's been happening with William Perry, the refrigerator. And you remember Fridge from Chicago Bears?
Oh, yes, at WrestleMania 2.
85 Bears.
and WrestleMania.
Yes.
The Fridge is connected to us without being connected to us. I would film Fridge, me, and Jake, not for a movie, for a reality show that would show really what we're doing. And you'd play it over 12 weeks, but it would take at least a year, to really do it the right way. Because Fridge is 400 plus pounds, like 450 or more. He's so beat up, and right now, from all the press I'm seeing, he's in the spot Jake was in.
Oh, no.
Now, Scott Hall, when Scott Hall came in, that really helped Jake. Because now he could help someone. Because I would always tell Jake, you want to feel better about yourself? And this goes for everyone who's listening. You want to feel better about yourself? Help somebody. I don't care who it is. Help anybody. Help the lady across the street. You see some fucking homeless guy out there who's really homeless, not the guy who's living in a penthouse.
Right.
Because a lot of these guys are. But some of the people who are really on that bad side, help them. Buy them a meal. Give them $5. Help a kid. Go read the story of kids who are in the cancer wards. You think you got problems? Focus on people who really have problems and try to help them, and you're going to feel better. Scott Hall, he said, and I guess I would agree with him. He said that my addiction was helping people.
That's a great addiction to have. It's true.
If you're going to have it, and to wrap it around something that I believe in and I'm passionate about, DDP Yoga, I'm helping people. Go to DDPYoga.com. Any of the people out there that think I'm full of shit, I challenge you. Go to DDPYoga.com and don't look at the success stories. Don't look at what people have, videos or what people have said. Go to the spot where it has changing or saving lives. These are quotes I just grabbed off of Twitter in the last 3 months, of people saying that my program not only changed their lives, but saved their lives. I don't even know these people. You can't make people write that kind of shit on Twitter, just like you can't make people chant your name. They got to really feel moved to action to chant DDP, to chant Rocky, to chant Stone Cold. They got to be moved. There ain't nobody going to make them do that. RVD. They got to want him. They got to love that guy. The bottom line is, same shit on Twitter. Like right now, when people ask me, online, will this help me? Or sell me your program. I said, I ain't going to sell you shit. Go to this, and I put up a link. And the link I put up is, that best of list. It's like top 10 list of, and then it could be hottest actresses.
Oh, yeah.
Biggest bodybuilders. They got it for everything. Most hated basketball players. They got a top 10 list for everything. Well, one of the things they have a top 10 list on is home workouts. And on that list is every infomercial you've ever seen about any product that's a home workout. In the number 3 spot is P90X. And they got about 60 comments up there. In the number 2 spot is Insanity. And they got about 80 comments up there. In the number 1 spot is DDP Yoga.
Wow.
And we have over 900 comments up there.
That's amazing.
Again, you can't make people do that shit. You might be able to get them, 15 or 20 or 30, even 50 people to write. You ain't getting 900. I tell people, go to this site, read the shit yourself, and you tell me. If it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, don't worry about it.
That's the mark of a good product too, because you don't, like you said, you don't have to sell them shit. You don't have to sell anybody. They can watch the resurrection of Jake the Snake. They can go to DDPYoga.com, and like you said, there's testimonials from real people that you can go on Twitter and just type in hashtag DDP Yoga. I mean, and they can see what people are saying because the product works so well. And you just launched a new mobile app, DDP Yoga Now, right? Is what it's called.
Now.
Yeah, DDP Yoga Now. That's the new app on the Android.
Yeah, well, I put it on Android. I put it on iPhone. I put it on tablet. I put it on iPad, and I put it on the computer. Now, to really understand that, each one of those devices has their own code. So if I'm going to spend $10,000 to do something, it doesn't cost me $10,000.
Right.
It doesn't cost me $50,000, but it's around $42,000 to do the entire idea on all platforms. And that's why most people start out with just the iPhone or just the iPad. I went through all 5 platforms because I was doing something no one ever did before.
Right.
And I was I was the first one, and now there's some other, like Daily Burn does live workouts every day. I'm the first one to ever do live workouts on the internet. First one to do the live workouts that was part of the program. And Daily Burn followed, and then they did it every single day. But they've got $100 million behind them. They've got stupid money behind them. We are still, a family-owned, company. And we have not just workouts. No one has the workouts that we have. We have workouts for kids, DDPY for kids. We've got the Chairmaster workouts now, where you start working out in a chair.
Oh, wow.
You don't even get off the chair in the beginning because a lot of people can't.
Right.
Then you use the chair as a crutch to help you get up and down like Jake and Scott did, like the disabled veteran Arthur Borman did. Actually, Arthur is the one who's in the chair with me when we start the workout.
Oh.
It's me and Art together.
Oh, wow.
And, all of my workouts, I put people in the workouts that have results. Now, I just got off the phone with Zach Gowen. You know Zach, right?
Yes, the one-legged wrestler, yes.
Right, who just happened to be on American Ninja Warrior on the opening show.
Holy shit, I didn't see that.
And had an unbelievable, he got halfway through the damn thing with one leg.
That's awesome.
And as he said, powered by DDP Yoga. He's been training to be an instructor for the last 4 months. I'm flying in, Zach, in August, and a guy named Steven, who I met in Ohio, who's an amputee as well from the knee down, and he works out with his prosthetic. Zach doesn't use one when he's working out. So I'm going to put both of them in workouts that Zach and I are creating because I have to work around the amputee position because it's something I've never been in. And I've already taught Zach how to do my workout, modifying around that, using a bench at times. But we're actually going to have him and Steve in the workout, this guy who's the amputee, and they're going to do 2 more workouts. One will be 20-minute, one will be a 30-minute. And what this has all been designed for is people who are older, people who are really beat up, probably both older and beat up. The real purpose I've developed it, though, was for disabled veterans. And I'm going to give my app, I'm just trying to figure out a way to do it where it's legitimized and people aren't just saying they are and they're not. But it's so hard and there's so much red tape. But my goal is to give my DDP Yoga Now app, I mean completely 100%, give it to every disabled veteran that's out there. That's my goal. And it's going to take me a while to really structure that. But I've already talked to Wounded Warriors and I've talked to a couple other organizations. But I have to get to the VA, and that's the next goal. So a structured workout for disabled vets that costs them nothing. So, we're not losing the connection. Can you guys hear me? I'm getting feedback. Okay, I was getting feedback there. The bottom line is the vets out there, they made no money coming in. They lost body parts, and the country doesn't take care of them afterwards. And I've always thought that that's bullshit. And, I've been to Iraq 3 times. I've been to Afghanistan, for 13, 14 days at a clip to visit the troops. I went there in 2005 when everybody was scared shit to go there. And, it was an awakening, a real awakening. And, like everybody, you hate the war, but you got to love the warrior. So that's my goal. And I will accomplish that. I just don't know how long it'll take me to really put it together. So we've got the kids workouts. We've got the disabled vet, or for older people, people stuck in a chair workouts. And then we've got beginner, intermediate, advanced psycho workouts. We've got all of these workouts on there, and they all track the heart rate monitor. If you got a Bluetooth heart monitor, I'm going to show you where you were in your fat burn zone, how long you were there, and then give you an estimate of where you were, how many calories you burned. It's all part of the workout. No one's doing that. No one. And I also have a custom workout that if you want to hike, if you want to lift weights, if you want to do a live workout at the DDP Yoga Performance Center or come to one of my workshops, well, you can track your whole workout right there. Plus, we have this whole tracking thing with pictures, measurements, pain index, your weight and your starting current goal weight. We've got blood pressure, A1C for diabetics, and blood sugar. This is all tracking system. Plus, we got all the food. And we just don't tell you what food to eat. We show you and give you ingredients, directions how to make it, and then a video of me in my cooking, under my cooking studio, and where I'm cooking this food I'm talking to you about. So you got it all. And then most of all, and no one does this, we have the inspiration, which is DDP TV. And not this week, but next week, I will start every Monday putting up Motivational Monday, giving you your focus for that week and inspiring you to be able to actually not just change your life, but own your life. That's what DDP Yoga Now is all about. And anybody can go on Droid, which is Google Play, or iTunes, which is iOS, Apple, and download the free version, and then they can upgrade to own the app if they will as well. And that's, how we're doing it right now. And we have had unbelievable success with the app, but we're still selling DVDs. We got a special right now. Everything on DDP Yoga right now, everything is 20% off. Everything is 20% off. Everything. And I've never done that. Plus, you get 3 months of the app for free. Complete everything. So I'm giving back a lot for what I'm doing. And again, I always tell people when they say, I really don't know what I want to do with my life. I tell them, find something you love to do and figure out a way to get someone to pay you to do it. That's the American dream. Not some job you fucking hate, or I'm just going and going and going to work. Living it. I can work and do sometimes 24/7, 365 days a year, and never feel like I'm working. But you got to understand, it took 8 years to get here. 8 years. How many people would have quit over that time? Really, most of the people.
That's for sure, and I think your whole career shows that, from starting, wrestling in the mid-30s and to where you're at now. I mean, we talked about Jake earlier, an amazing journey. You've been on one yourself for sure. Mr. Page, do you have a few minutes just to discuss some wrestling? My colleague Mike Moulton's here on the show, and he just wanted to know if you want to discuss a little bit of wrestling real quick, and then we'll let you go, 'cause I know you're busy.
Hey, Mr. Page, it's an honor to speak with you. How you doing?
Oh, awesome, buddy.
So, listening to you speak, I came up with, there's something I've really been wanting to know. I mean, we all seen how it took the Macho Man forever to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, which is a travesty to me. He should have been inducted while he was still alive, and no disrespect intended towards the Bushwhackers, Koko Beware, and Rikishi, but how in the fuck are they in the Hall of Fame and you're not? I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever to me, because you actually had a Hall of Fame career.
Oh, thank you, man. But and I got to put all three of those guys over Rikishi. I love him to death. Luke Bushwhacker is one of my closest friends. I don't really know Coco, but all of a sudden, there's so many guys I think that really belong in there. I've always felt like, I used to say, until Savage and Jake are in, I got nothing to say. And Randy was the reason why he got in so late, because Randy and Vince had a big to-do, and it was just fixing itself right before it died, right before he passed. I put a beautiful remnants, my memories of Randy and video together that's up on my YouTube page, and it's pretty powerful. One of my favorite things, I got emotional there because it was so strong. I know that I never have the career that I have without Randy. I also feel that now that those guys are in, then it was Michael P.S. Hayes. How could he not be in there? And then finally he's in. Lex Luger is someone I believe, had such an amazing career with both companies. Need to be there. When it happens, guys, it's not something, of course I think about it because so many people bring it up. And, I got so many people saying, DDP 2017 for everything I did for Jake and Scott, not to be in any way, shape, or form, not grateful, but fuck what I did with Jake and Scott. What I did in my wrestling career, no one's ever done. So, I should go into that. That the Jake and Scott thing, that's something that's a love thing for me. To be able to help my two buddies and to see how just unbelievable they're both doing now. And Scott, it was pretty well documented. He had some falls after the Hall of Fame. So anybody out there who's ever had a problem with anything, tell me what happens to you when you hit the height, as high as you can go. And then, that's over. What about tomorrow? And there's a good chance you're going to fall. I was really surprised Jake did it, to be perfectly honest. And I was expecting it, and it didn't happen. So that was pretty cool. But, Jake had been through his series, and Scott had to find it. And thank God he moved 3 blocks from my house. So when I would come off the road and he'd be on a bender, I'd go by his house and I'd bang on that door until he answered it. And he knew I wasn't going away. I'll just keep banging. I banged one time for an hour. Banged on his windows in his bedroom. Banged on the door. I was kicking it. So he finally opened it, because he was ashamed. And then I would talk him out. You ain't got to be ashamed, bro. Come on, let's blah, 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 But, whenever it happens, I stopped wishing for things to happen a long time ago, and I don't care if it was the success of DDP Yoga. I learned from my success in wrestling. Sometimes you want that goal so bad. You want it to happen so bad, and it doesn't. And a lot of people quit. And you just got to keep going. You got to keep powering through it. And you think, like in 95, I was the I was the most improved wrestler of the year, according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated. If you look at the names that are on that most improved wrestler of the year, 70+% of them became top guys in the business. So for me, I thought it should have happened then. It should have happened then. And then 96 came around. And in the beginning of the year, I'm like, it's got to happen now. The Diamond Cutter is so over. My career, I mean, everybody, I'm getting a humongous pop on everything. I'm doing enhancement matches. And I got the crowd in the palm of my hand. And then I worked with Eddie Guerrero. And God, Eddie really put me on the map. And, you know, I thought it should have happened, and it didn't. And then it got to the end of 96, and it started to. And in 97, I exploded. And I got to be perfectly honest with you. I wasn't ready to handle what I was about to do 2 years earlier. I wasn't even ready in early 96. By the end of 1996, I wasn't only ready, I was going to make it happen. And it did. And I was ready. The Hall of Fame, you know, or anything that I've really wanted to happen, I want it to happen when it's supposed to happen. And it's always been like with Jake. I mean, I wanted him to be in the Hall of Fame so bad that year, but if it would have been the next year, then I would have been cool. If it would have been the year after that, I would have been cool. You know, because it happened exactly when it was supposed to. And it made our movie unbelievable. When Jake Roberts and I sat down to watch the resurrection of Jake the Snake, he had never seen anything, never watched any YouTubes. No one wants to see themselves a train wreck. Nobody wants to see that. When we sat down, I said, Jake, there's two things that you're going to have to promise me before I play this movie. One is, what's the most important thing about our business, the wrestling business? Well, every single wrestler knows that answer. The most important thing is the finish. Doesn't matter if you fuck up the beginning of the match, the middle of the match, don't fuck the finish up. I said, you got to remember that. Number two, you can't leave the room. The minute this thing starts playing, you have to watch it all the way through. He said, I got you. Play the movie. And that's how it started. You know, and when it came right, when it came ready, everything came together. It was awesome. This movie's going to live forever. Forever.
Like, you know, we just recently lost, you know, the world lost Ali. You know, and everyone said he was the champ, he was the greatest because of what, not because of just what he did inside the ring, but what he did outside the ring. And I think, you know, what you've done for Scott and Jake, you know, like, athletes and professional sports are taking a hit now. So, I mean, what you've done, you've saved their lives. So, I mean, hell, you know, you've kind of saved a lot of face for WWE. I don't think a lot of people, you know, recognize it. And you're right, you know, the gift is in giving. You know, I am an addict as well. You know, they always said you can only keep what you have by giving it away. So that's 100% true. Something else that I really been dying to know is what was your favorite rivalry? Like, who did you just really enjoy working with, like, inside and outside of the ring?
Well, you know, I had so many great fun feuds to work with, but nothing will ever match what Randy and I did. You know, we were the feud of the year in 1997, according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Stone Cold and Bret Hart were in the number 2 spot, which that could have gone either way as far as I'm concerned, you know, because I think both of us had amazing feuds, you know, but working with Randy, was because he was that guy. The guy you think he was, pretty close to who he was. He was the most intense son of a bitch I've ever been around in my life. And I'm pretty intense. You know, and, you know, a lot of people, you know, back in the day, they would bust his balls for laying out everything in a match. I love that because I was the same way, except for, like Randy, I could improv at any moment. But he wanted to know because he wanted it to be the best. And when I first worked with Hogan, first time ever in Toronto, and I was stretching out, freaking doing my thing. And he said, D, he goes, I've never done this with anyone. How do you do that spinning boot spot you do? Which way do you throw it? And I stood up and I went to boot him, catch the boot, and I go, spin me this way, which is to the right. I go, see, I can't get around. I go, spin it the other way. And I spun right around. I said, I got to go clockwise. He goes, perfect. He said, and what's that other thing you do? And I can't even remember what it was. But Hulk was actually asking me. So he knew when to call it and when to do it and what to do. Because Hulk Hogan never called. Like my first matches with him and Malone, we had to lay shit out. He'd never done that. So I did everything. With Jay Leno, same thing. Had to lay it all out. Thank God I knew how to do all that shit. Bischoff told me that the only reason he put me in the second, it was my idea, the Malone and me, Rodman and Hogan, which was the biggest pay-per-view in the history of WCW. And you have to understand, Hogan, 4 years earlier, when he came into the company, we were on a European tour. It was day 5 in Berlin. I'm the curtain jerker, first match. I walk out of the ring, through the curtain to go back to the locker room, and Hulk grabs my arm and pulls me over. He said, how are you doing it? And what Hulk, what did I do wrong? He goes, you didn't do anything wrong. He goes, how are you getting so much better? And then he answers the question. He said, this is what they're doing with you, right? They're putting you out there on the road because I hardly ever see you on TV. He said, but when I do, I see you got some new move and you hit the mat and you pop up and you get the people involved. You really don't know how to push all the buttons right now, but you're getting a reaction, and that's huge. He said, this is how they're doing it with you, right? They're putting you on the road and they'll let you learn your craft. I said, no. He goes, what do you mean, no? I said, dude, this is my first show that I've been on, my first tour of anything in 4 months. He's like, what? I go, Hulk, the only reason I'm on this card is because my last given name is Falkenberg, and the Germans love their Krauts. I said, and I got a smoking hot wife that walks me to the ring. That's why I'm on this card. He goes, well, how the hell are you doing it then? And I said, well, I went back to the power plant. And that's where you trained all the young wrestlers. That's where I learned to wrestle and where I came out of. Very much like the WWE Performance Center in Orlando. But we were the first to do that shit. WWE wasn't doing that. The WCW power plant, Jody Hamilton started that. And he said, how are you doing it? I said, well, I figured out they're not using me. So I went back and started training all the young guys. And I figured out something, Hulk. I figured out that the more I train someone, the more I teach someone, the more I learn. The more I learn, the better I've been getting, He said, whatever you're doing, you need to keep doing it. And he said, I don't say this to many people. He said, but I'm saying it to you. It's not tomorrow or next year or a year after that or maybe even the year after that. He said, but somewhere down the line, you have the ability to draw huge money with me. And he hit me on the shoulder and walked away. I thought to myself, did Hulk Hogan just say he watched my matches? You know, did he just say we could draw huge money together? Like, that was mind-boggling to me. And that became a part of my mantra. Now, 4 years later, he's on the Tonight Show with Rodman, and me and Malone. And for anybody who doesn't know who Karl Malone is, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the number one scorer of all time in the NBA. Karl Malone's number 2. Not Jordan, not Kobe, Malone. We walk out on the stage of the Tonight Show with chairs and throw them down, throw up the diamond cutter signs, hit the bang, and shoot our angle on the Tonight Show. So what Hulk had said to me 4 years earlier had manifested on such a level to a dream that I couldn't even conceive. And it was happening exactly when it was supposed to happen. It was crazy, man. So my favorite feud is Randy Savage. We beat the hell out of each other. He was amazing to work with. When he passed, the WWE put up his top 5 feuds. It was one with Hogan, one with the Mega Powers that he did. It was Jake Roberts. I can't remember who the other one was, but it was Diamond Dallas Page was the 5th one.
You know, I love that feud, and I'm a huge Randy Savage fan. So that made my day that you said that. My favorite Randy moment was when he slapped Hogan and like ended the Mega Powers. And my last question for you, because I know you're busy and you got to go. A few months ago on our show, we had Wrestler of the Week, and you were our Wrestler of the Week, and we discussed what we thought was your defining moment in the business. And I'd just like to know, I mean, that what you said about Dusty and writing that down on the piece of paper, I thought that was beautiful. But what would you say was your defining moment in wrestling?
I can only think it to be for Ric Flair to take the diamond cutter in the middle with the match that we had, you know, the 4-way dance with Sting and Hogan. Hogan wanted me to put him out with the figure 4 leg lock, that we could use it later. You know, that Rick would be gracious enough to take the cutter right in the middle, and for Randy Savage to hand me the world title. 2 years earlier, you know, he puts me over in the middle. You know, it really shows that hard work equals results if you never quit. If you keep moving and moving forward and don't bring yourself down. If you bring yourself down with emotional gravity, let it go and let yourself rise to the top again. Negative breeds negative. I do not hang out with negative people ever. And they're not allowed to be by me because I'm not going to let them take up any of my life. You know, right now, here's how real I am in my life. I'm 60. I have a friend of mine who just celebrated his 82nd birthday. He's been doing my program since he was 68. Threw him a big party at the DDP Yoga Performance Center here in Smyrna, Georgia. And he called me up and told me how much that meant to him. He's a stud. And he's an old man, but he's a stud. So I know that the most I'm going to have of like great years is another 15 years, 75. My goal is to hold my foot over my head when I'm 90. You know, so for me, I only let positive people into my life. Now, unless I'm trying to work with them, but I'm only going to work with you so long and you not give back to the understanding. Like Scott Hall will tell you, I drank the Kool-Aid. Positive energy is the most positive thing you can do for yourself. And you got to know how negative Scott Hall was for a long time. And it took a long time to wear him down. But he's one of my closest friends. And I know if he doesn't take the diamond cutter the night I put on the NWO shirt, none of this happens. So I created that gimmick that was Diamond Stud that made him millions of dollars as Razor Ramon, and then coming back at Scott Hall, and then he did Meet Solid big time, letting me hit him with a cutter, and Kevin let me backdrop him over the top rope. Think of anyone in that first year who touched the NWO. There isn't anybody. Sting didn't even get to him yet. He was in the rafters. Sting was being left laying. That's why he lost his smile and took off in the rafters, to change his character and come back with what he really wanted to be, which was a super icon. And I loved working every time I worked with Sting. I think my favorite match ever is Nitro. First seat DVD, second DVD, first very best of Nitro series. I challenge anybody to show me a better match that was on Nitro than in 1999 when I dropped the world title to him that night. And the crowd was electric. That may be my favorite match as far as having the people in the palm of your hand. You know, it never matters if you win or lose. It's how you lay it out. It's how to finish it. That was all mine. I created all that. And Sting loved it. Of course, he's hitting me with the death drop at the end, you know. But Sting was awesome. I was so happy for him that he's in the Hall of Fame, you know. And you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years. Again, the whole thing of the entire journey, my life has been so blessed, and I've been like one of the luckiest people alive. And I don't ever forget that or take that for granted. So, you know, people should focus on living life with an attitude of gratitude. Try not to focus on the shit that you don't have, and focus on the shit that you have. And if you don't have cancer, you're in a hell of a good spot. My wife's got it. She just beat it, but it's still inside her. So that's a problem. So you got to face it head on like she did. And man, she was my biggest hero. Just the way she like faced up to the whole thing. And it kicked her ass at the end, but in the first 9/10 of it, she said it was just, you know, interruption in her day. Warrior. And then she beat it when it was all said and done, and we're going to keep it out of her. You know, but your health is the most important thing. If you've got good health, and if you don't have good health, you need to watch the movies Food Inc., Genetic Roulette, GMO, OMG. Learn what the fuck you're putting in your body. If your health sucks, change it with what food you eat, change it with what program you do for physical fitness, and change your mindset. And the rest will just happen.
I definitely love the positive outlook. I try and stay positive all the time myself, as far as not letting negative people bring me down, because, you know, that's all they do. But, you know, you're definitely a Hall of Famer in our eyes. Me and Matthew both agree, and really do thank you for your time. And I'll be honest with you, I've never had interest in the DDP Yoga, but sitting here talking with you and seeing how passionate you are about it, it's definitely something I'm going to look into it, and I'm going to give it a shot. And that's no bullshit. I just, I really do thank you for joining us. I mean, it's an honor, I'm going to post on Facebook about it and share the link. It's been truly an honor, Dallas.
Well, thanks for having me on, boys. Let me go get with my beautiful wife. I know she's already got dinner on the table. I'm a little late. Have a great night, guys.
Self-high five.
Thanks for listening to the Never Submit podcast. We appreciate your support and hope you enjoyed the show. We want to hear from you. Send your feedback, questions, and ideas to neversubmitpodcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe on iTunes. You'll never miss the show. Also, Also, be sure to like our page on Facebook at facebook.com/neversubmit and visit our website at neversubmitent.com. Thanks again for listening to the Never Submit Podcast.